the most powerful psychic Pokemon in the entire series. Now, I don't know too much about most of the Pokemon because I'm nostalgic for 151 and some of Generation 2. But anyway, most powerful Pokemon of all generations. And no, I'm not talking about Mew and Mewtwo, the OG, or even Alakazam. Probably one of the most well-known, powerful psychic abilities out there is probably those three, because those are the three like original big psychic types. You got Alakazam, Mew, Mewtwo. Of course, Mew could technically use a ton of other moves, any move, any whatever. But no, the most powerful Pokemon is Psyduck. Let's talk about how Psyduck is the most powerful psychic being. Water duck in Pokemon. If you're new here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get into today's video. So Psyduck always looks so like just out of it. He always has headaches. So he always walks around with his hands on his head like this because he's trying to calm down his headache. You know, you get a headache, you're like, oh my god. Oh. That's what Psyduck is doing. He's soothing his mind, trying to calm the headache down. But we know that the headaches are his psychic ability just being contained. So when the headaches get too bad, his psychic ability comes out and he has this immense power. We even see this in one of the episodes. Misty keeps telling the other trainer to beat up his Psyduck and keep hitting the head, keep hitting the head, keep hitting the head. And eventually, Psyduck awakens his big psychic power, picks up the slams down, and then wins the fight. There's a few Pokedex entries that kind of explain this a little more. So we're going to go through all the Pokedex entries of Psyduck to talk about his immense power. While this is red and blue, while blowing its enemies with its vacant look, this willy Pokemon will use psychokinetic powers. Yellow, always tormented by headaches, it uses psychic powers but is not known if it intends to do so. I mean, he's listed as a water type Pokemon that could use these psychic abilities. Okay. Gold, if it has mystical powers but doesn't recall that it has used them. So before in yellow we learned that we're not sure if he knows he's using psychic powers, but this kind of confirms that he doesn't know he's using psychic powers. That is why it always looks puzzled. You know, whenever you see Psyduck do an attack, you know, he always goes, sorry, like confused afterwards. Silver, if its chronic headache peaks, it may exhibit odd powers. It seems unable to recall such an episode. So basically he blacks out and uses this immense power that could be very dangerous. Crystal, the only time it can use its psychic power is when its sleeping brain cells happen to awake. So basically what this is saying is, you know, he tries to soothe his mind, tries to relax, but the headache is too intense and it awakens all of his brain cells and makes him like this super genius duck that can use telekinetic powers or psychokinetic, like the headache. What would happen if, well, we'll get to that, but yeah. So this brain cells just kind of awaken into this immense power. Ruby, Psyduck uses a mysterious power. When it does so, this Pokemon generates brainwaves that are supposedly only seen in sleepers. This discovery spurred controversial among scholars. Not helping me, Ruby. Sapphire, if it uses its mysterious power, Psyduck can't remember having done so. It apparently can't form memory of such an event because it goes into an altered state that is much like a deep sleep. And we've actually seen this before because, you know, we see him using the power, and Missy's like, "This is awesome, Psyduck, this is so great." So she goes in the battle and it's like, "Come on, Psyduck, do it. Like, you use the power." And Psyduck's like, "What do you mean? What power? I'm a duck. I don't got no power." And that's when Misty has the other Pokemon basically hit him on the head a bunch of times until his headache gets so immense and he just goes with a psychic power. Fire Red. It is constantly racked by a headache. When the headache turns intense, it begins using mysterious powers. Leaf Green. While lulling its enemies with its vacant look, this willy Pokemon will use psychokinetic powers. That's the same as the original Blue. Emerald. When its headache intensifies, it starts using strange powers. However, it has no recollection of its powers, so it always looks befuddled and bewildered. Diamond. If its usual headache worsens, it starts exhibiting odd powers. It can't remember doing so. However, it never, this is Pearl. It never remembers using its odd powers, so it always tilts its head in puzzlement. Sorry? Like my dog does. It's kind of funny. Platinum. Overwhelmed by enigmatic, like enigma, but okay. Abilities. It suffers a constant headache. It sometimes uses mysterious powers. Heart Gold. It has mystical powers but doesn't recall that it has been used them. That's why it always was puzzled. Soul Silver. Its chronic headache peaks and may exhibit odd powers. It seems unable to recall such an episode. Black and White. Overwhelmed by enigmatic powers. It suffers constant headache and sometimes uses mysterious powers. Black, White 2. When headaches stimulate its brain cells, which usually inactive, it can use mysterious powers. So his brain cells are no longer active, and then these headaches basically jog him up. X and Y. It constantly whacked by a headache. When the headache turns intense, it begins using mysterious powers. It has mystical powers, but doesn't recall that it used them. That's why it was a puzzle. Okay, so a lot of these are kind of repeats. Okay, so then we have Sun and Moon. As a result of the headaches so fierce, they can cause it to cry. It sometimes uses psychokinesis without meaning to. Moon. This Pokemon is troubled by constant headaches. The more pain it's in, the more powerful the psychokinesis becomes. Using psychokinesis, this is Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Using psychokinesis gives it headaches, so it normally passes the time spacing out and doing as little as possible. Ultra Moon. It has been found that its brain cells are 10 times more active when Psyduck is experiencing a headache. It's pretty good. Okay, repeat. Okay. So that's basically a repeat. But to think about, he's constantly got his hands on his head to kind of just goosefaba his headache away. What would happen if he just took his hands down and just let the pain commence? Let the headache erupt. Just let it happen. His power would just be so immense. The pain would be so much more. He could use potentially more than just 10%, 10 times, he could potentially use more than just 10 times his brain cell power. He could use 50 times. He could use 60 times. He could just use so much mass power that he could be surpassing Mewtwo if he really knew how to control it. Obviously he doesn't, because he just shuts his brain off and goes, "Argh." if he didn't shut his brain off and he could potentially use that power, Psyduck would be the most powerful psychic being of all time. Now, there's a caveat to this. He could potentially use so much of this ability with his headache that his head could literally... Pretty sure there was a Pokedex entry in one of the games that said that, but I couldn't find it. Okay. Yeah, his head could literally explode. Now, why doesn't this power convert to Psyduck? I mean, not to Golduck, when Golduck is a little stronger, smarter. And that's the thing. Psyduck, when he evolves into Golduck, he taps into his brain and becomes smarter. Where he taps into his brain like a normal Pokemon, a normal being, and he's able to use the amount of brain that he's got to use. In Psyduck's case, he shuts his brain off. So that power is just kind of sitting there. That mind is just kind of sitting there, increasing in his power. Where Golduck is constantly using the brain like a normal Pokemon. He doesn't shut it off. So the power just evenly gets distributed. So if you want psychic abilities, you want to try this at home, you want psychic abilities, just shut your mind off. Let it sit there for a while. Zone out. Like Psyduck. Let the headache just increase. And did it work? Damn. I was really hoping that would work. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below your thoughts on Psyduck. Do you think he could potentially be that powerful? And I want to see some fan art of like super psychic Psyduck. Yeah. Either way, while you're down there in the comments, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that join button, check my Patreon page, check out the merch store. Anything down below will help me out a bunch. And now, I'll see you guys next time. But before you go, you know the drill. There's a video there. And one behind me.